Wait for 5 minutes. Then I'll go with live as well. But
so Ravi, then we can start actually because it is showing you are in practice session.
No, we can start.
Shall I start? I'll start the webinar.
Please,
All ready?
Sangeeta, I just want to have this Nihaz Ambusiraji to join. Actually, at least one of them should be there to start. I'm just waiting.
Sangeeta ji, no change in that Excel sheet, no? In the roles?
No.
Okay.
No change.
Yeah. Thank you.
How do I look? Fine? Good? Or doesn't
We are
look
still
right?
waiting for the other members to join in. Mr. Suleiman and
Have you reached out to
Kameez.
them? Have you reached
Yes,
out
I
to them?
have messaged on the group.
Mhm.
Kameez is, Mr.
Mr.
Kameez is joined in.
Mr. Niyar has also joined, so I think.
I will start the
Raviji,
webinar.
you're on
then.
mute. Raviji, you're on mute. Raviji, you're on mute. Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Nihaz sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
With us, our panelists are there. Mr. Fatih Hussain Al Bulusi is the CFO of Oman Cement Company. With me, Haitham can we have the photos? Mr. Haitham Al Saadi is the CFO of Oman Flour Mill Company here. And Mr. Kameez, who is the CFO of Oman LNG Gas, the panelist. And then we have the past chairman, Awad Kisorji, with us. And other panelists will also join. His Excellency has said he will take some time because he's on the other meeting. So he will take some time. So we can start the meeting, sir, with your kind permission. Yeah, sir. Okay. So I'm starting, Sangeeta ji, with the count of 5, okay?
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome on this lovely day. The weather in the morning has been fantastic, and I hope you have energized yourself for being part of this exciting panel discussion on current economic scenario and future. As globally or anywhere else in the world, Oman's economy has not been isolated from the ups and downs, and many of us has witnessed how strongly Oman has rebounded in the past, whenever it has been engulfed with economic or crisis or any other downturns. The strength and resilience shown in times of crisis has shaped Oman to the global player that it is today. History was written on 23rd July 1970 when our beloved late Sultan Qaboos bin Saad Al Saad took over as the Sultan of Oman. Under his able and much acclaimed leadership, he ensured that over the years, Oman touched new heights year on year. Oman witnessed radical changes and achievements during his time, which laid the foundation of the current Oman as it stands today. We all know what he did. I think if I start going in detail, we'll spend the whole next even 2 hours will be short of what Oman has achieved during his tenure. But one thing is absolutely clear. People were at his heart of Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said, and therefore we always used to remember him as Baba Qaboos. The nation was engulfed in deep sorrow last year when on 11th January they woke up with the sad news of Qaboos not being with us anymore. After him, His Majesty Hatem bin Tariq was chosen and entrusted to succeed the new Sultan of Oman. However, soon he took over. The world was affected by COVID-19 pandemic, which definitely affected Oman, be it economically, physiologically, or sociologically. Jobs were lost, people were displaced, corporations were shut down, and the economy was grappling with an almost standstill scenario. Different countries across the globe have tackled the situation differently, which is having its own short-term as well as long-term effects. However, the world has been united in its efforts to tackle the problem. Oman has also acted responsibly in its response to the global pandemic and has once again proved how the country and its people are resilient, and there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. With this background and where Oman stands in its current economic scenario, we have 4 esteemed panelists. Mr. Abdul Razak Al-Balushi, he is the CFO of Ooredoo Oman. Mr. Hatem Al-Sadi, CFO Oman Flour Mills. Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi, CFO Oman LNG. And Mr. Suleiman, who has recently been appointed as CEO Oman Fisheries Company. As you would see, we have taken the panelists from across the various sectors representing us today. Last but not the least, the panels will be moderated by Mr. Fatih Al-Balushi, who is the CFO of Oman Cement Company. Before we make further headwinds with this interesting discussion and a lot of interesting questions, which I request all the participants to put it in the Q&A chat box. I now hand over to CA Sangeeta Suresh for the national anthems.
Thank you, Reviji. Before playing the national anthem, I just would like to take a minute here to update on the CPE upcoming events so that we all are informed. We have a decentralized finance, the past, present, and future event, which touches base on the cryptocurrency, and it is scheduled on 9th of October. On 23rd of October, we have the session on the new version of Tally. And we have been scheduling an event on big data and data privacy, which is happening on 30th of October, which would deal on data engineering, data science, and analytics. I hope this is all would add value to each one of you. If you have any suggestions of the events or topics or any speaker from whom you want to hear, please do touch base on us and we will try to arrange the same.
Sangeeta,
And-
if I may add, even on 17th October for Omani Women's Day, we have planned an event.
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you, Shilpa. And such events now, as of today, we cannot start without respecting and honoring the countries, India and Oman. So I would request all of you to kindly stand up as we play the national anthem of both the countries, Oman, India, followed by ICAI motto song.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Now we'll have the ICAI motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Thank you all. Please be seated as we progress with the next event. Now over to Gaurav ji to take us through the next agenda for today's event.
Thank you, CA Sangeeta Sureshji. Now I request CA Ravi Deora, Chairman, Muscat Chapter of ICAI, to welcome the audience.
Thank you, Gauravji. Respected Chief Guest, His Excellency Manu Mohawarji, Indian Ambassador to Sultan of Oman, Guest of Honor CA Nihar Jammusariaji, President ICAI, respected Galaxy of Omani CFO as panelists, leaders and members. Welcome to our unique program on Omani CFO Meet, a panel discussion on current economic scenario and the future. We are grateful to Mr. Fatiq Al-Baluchi for conceptualizing and arranging such a wonderful galaxy of panelists of CFO in renowned public and private listed companies, including Mr. Abdul Razak Al-Baluchi, CFO Ooredoo, Mr. Suleiman Al-Ghanami, CEO Oman Fisheries SEOG, Mr. Haitham Al-Saadi, CFO Oman Flour Mills, Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi, CFO Oman LNG, and my brother Mr. Fatiq Al-Baluchi, Oman Cement Company, who has also accepted our request to moderate the session as well. We thank you all for your participation and welcome to you for the event. COVID-19 has played a crucial role to bring this new normal. I wish to I just want to congratulate Mr. Suleiman Al-Ghanami for his recent appointment as the CEO of Oman Fisheries SEOG. And yesterday only we have come to know that he has become the CEO of the Oman Fisheries SEOG. We congratulate you, sir, for your things. Journey to finance profession also become journey to finance profession to become business leader is a proud moment for us. This is a proud moment for us. We also wish to put on record our gratitude to His Excellency Manu Mohawarji for joining us today. His term of office in Oman is ending this month. He is a great support to ICAI Muscat chapter and always available when needed at short notice. We are able to handle complex situations, including examination during lockdown period, COVID support, and many more with his kind support. We thank you, sir, for always being with us, and we wish you all the success of your future things. Before we start the event, I propose few of the announcements. Some of them is already Sangeeta has done. ICAI Delhi has the election of the Central Council members on 3rd and 4th of December. For members residing abroad, the postal ballot facility is available, and the postal ballot will be sent to your registered address. I urge all of you to visit the self-service portal and update your registered address if you are not updated the current address of Oman. So please register your current updated address and also ensure that your ICAI India membership is active. And I urge all to participate in election process and cast your vote to your favorite candidates. ICAI Muscat chapter is ICAI Delhi is also coming up with our dream project of World Congress of Accountants to be held on November 20 and 22 of 2022. This is a dream project of the ICAI, and we are making it true. ICAI Muscat chapter is wholeheartedly supporting this ICAI dream, and we request all of you to take benefit of this world-class opportunity to opt for sponsorships to showcase your company brand, nominate maximum participation from your company to the event. And for more details, you can approach any of our MC members at any point of time. ICAI Muscat chapter is also coming up various events, which is including cryptocurrency, awarding sponsorship to the commerce toppers, Omani Women's Day celebration, and many more events planned as informed by Sangeeta. We urge all to take benefit of these events as well. We are in process of organizing international conference also in the month of November with more interactive opportunities. This is the updates. And lastly, we urge all to renew your membership of ICAI Muscat chapter and support us for serve you better. I once again welcome you all for the event, and we look forward to hear from the highly distinguished panelists from them. Wish you all a happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Raviji. Thanks a lot for enlightening us on what is ongoing and what is future going to come for us. Now, I will request CA Jim Joseph ji to welcome our chief guest, His Excellency Manu Mohawarji.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's my privilege to introduce our chief guest of the day, His Excellency Manu Mohawar, Ambassador of India to the Sultanate of Oman. He was born in Thamtari in Chhattisgarh. He did his BTech in Electrical Engineering from IIT Delhi. He joined Indian Foreign Service in 1996. He served in diplomatic missions in Moscow and Geneva. At headquarters, he worked in different positions. His last assignment was head of Americas division. Excellency assumed the charge of post of Indian ambassador to Sultanate in 21st August 2018. As we are all aware, Excellency is completing his present mission and moving to another location. I take this opportunity to thankfully remember all his support and advice to ICAI Muscat chapter. On behalf of everyone gathered here, I welcome Excellency to this event. I hope he will join soon. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Yeah. Sir, you are on mute.
We would love to hear from you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. CA Nihar Jambusari, President ICAI, CA Ravi Devraji, President of Muscat Chapter of ICAI, all the distinguished panelists and dear friends. It's a great pleasure for me to once again join you all for an event organized by Muscat Chapter of ICAI. It has been a great pleasure and privilege for me to be associated with the Muscat Chapter and attend their events. I think Muscat Chapter has been very active. They have done a wonderful job of not only, of course, developing a better understanding of the opportunities and scenario in Oman among its own members, but promoting India-Oman economic relations in general. And their great work has been recognized in successive years. They have been winning awards as best performing overseas chapters. I have had the pleasure of attending many events in which these awards were also announced. So I'm delighted that I'm able to once again connect with you all before my departure from Oman. I've had a great stint in Oman. We were able to accomplish some important feats in our bilateral relationship. We were also able to work very closely during the COVID pandemic. And now that we have come out of the COVID pandemic, hopefully on a sustained basis, the time has now come to take stock of the situation and really seize the opportunity to expand our partnership with Oman. As all of you know, India and Oman enjoy a very vibrant, multifaceted strategic partnership, and economic partnership, economic cooperation has been a key pillar of this overall strategic partnership. I have always been saying that while we have a good economic cooperation between our two countries, it is definitely not commensurate with the potential that we have. And there are several areas where there are opportunities for us to expand our cooperation, and there's very strong complementarity between our two economies. All the priority areas that Oman has identified under its Vision 2040, India can be a very, very strong partner. And likewise, we see Oman as an important partner in our journey to become self-reliant. I think I would not go into the details of each sector. I'm sure all the panelists who are participating in this event, and I'm quite really impressed by the panel that you have. I think they really bring in a lot of experience, lot of knowledge to this event. And I'm sure everyone who is watching this event, who is participating in this event, will benefit tremendously from the interaction that will be held in a short while from now. So I take this opportunity also to thank the government of Oman, His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, and all the Omani friends, whether they are in the government or in private entities, It's been a wonderful experience to work with them. I carry very fond memories from Oman, but I'm sure this is not the end of our friendship. Wherever I am, I do look forward to remaining in contact with all of you, and also, of course, with the ICAI. I'm sure wherever I will go, ICAI will have some footprint. So look forward to continuing this friendship, this cooperation. Best wishes to all of you. I wish a very successful event. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Manu Munawarji, for your kind and inspiring words. And we wish you all the best of your future in life. Now, I request CA Unmeshji to introduce our guest of honor for today, CA Nihar Jambusariya.
Thank you. Thank you, CA Gaurav. It is indeed my pleasure to introduce our beloved President, Sir, CA Nihar Jambusariya ji. CA Nihar Jambusariya ji is a man of professional wisdom, vision, and strong organizational skills, with a firm belief of all-around inclusive growth of Indian Chartered Accountancy profession. CA Nihar Jambusariya is the President of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 21-22, wherein he is currently serving for his third consecutive term. He is qualified as Chartered Accountant in 1984. That I was just a baby in the cradle and in those years, and is in practice for last 27 years. As President of ICAI, CA Nihar Jambusariya ji is now chairman of all the standing committees, besides being ex officio member of all non-standing committees and editor of the ICAI journal. CA Nihar ji is a member of Professional Accountants in Business Advisory Group of International Federation of Accountants. He also represents ICAI on International Integrated Reporting Council and Board of South Asian Federation of Accountants. He is also a member of Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board and Audit Advisory Board, both constituted by C&AG of India. He is also a board member of Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, IRDA, Insurance Advisory Committee and Apex Committee of IRDA, and member of SEBI, SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee. CA Nihar Jambusariya is a very prolific speaker, an academician, and orator par excellence, sir, and has attended and contributed to numerous national and international seminars. We welcome you, sir, for this event and request your esteemed guidance for this August gathering. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Unmesh. And it was really a very long introduction, which is really, I tell all the chapters not required. Today's chief guest, His Excellency Sri Manu Mahavar, Honorable Ambassador to Sultanate of Oman, CA Ravi Devra, Chairman of the Muscat chapter, all other managing committee members of the Muscat chapter, esteemed panelists of today's panel discussion, Sri Abdul Razak Al-Balusi, Mr. Haitham, Mr. Khalis, Mr. Suleiman, and moderator Mr. Fatih. In fact, very apt topic has been selected for CFO today, because right from the time pandemic struck, we were all witnessing the sea change, paradigm shift in the role of CFO, and all CFOs had to co-pilot the affairs of their employer company along with the CEO. And economic growth or downfall play a very important role. And it was observed that during 2020, the world GDP fell by 4.3%, which was double the fall in the world crisis in 2009. However, in 2021, it has shown unprecedented rise, and let us expect that the third wave will not come, and we will all be very comfortable concentrating our efforts on the revival of economy, rebooting of business, and settle down and grow at a faster rate. So today's discussion, particularly on economic growth, at the time when things are not so certain, like today, we do not see growth which is exactly steep upward, or it is flat, or it is seesaw type. So it is only on the basis of expectations, depending on how the pandemic behaves, that we will have to estimate, project, and proceed to advise our clients or our employer company, and see that they progress as much as possible, even in uncertain conditions. So far as India and Muscat are concerned, our bilateral relations have been excellent in the past. And let us see how, with our chapter there and our institute here, we strengthen these relationships and ensure that both the countries economically progress and we contribute to each economy's welfare. So I'm sure that our members at Muscat chapter will do their best to coordinate and see that Indian economy, Muscat economy flourish and grow at a faster rate, particularly for all CFOs. Today's topic is so important that in uncertain situations, the various alternatives which are available and various tools which are available, we need to explore. And in our effort to do that, the developments in technology will certainly be very handy to us. The power of technology we have realized in last 2 years, artificial intelligence, robotic processes, and big data, how they provide an absolute help to professionals in navigating the affairs of their businesses. So thank you so much for inviting me. I wish success to this conference, and I am sure that all the participants will have a lot of value added at the end of the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CA Nihar Jammusariaji. And as you have just heard, that His Excellency Monu Munawwarji will be going for his next mission outside Oman. We are, as a chapter, are facilitating him as he's attending our last event in Oman. So we request you to please facilitate His Excellency.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so, Shilpa, please share the screen.
It's pleasure and all the best in your future endeavor.
Thank you.
We hand over this memento to you, and it's an honor that you are here with us today.
Thank you very much. Deeply appreciate this. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sir, I do have the memento in my hand. It's just because it's virtual, we cannot give it to you right now, but we will hopefully give it to you personally. I just would like to say one or two words, sir. You have been the in charge of the Indians during such a tough situation, which you all handled it so beautifully by providing arranging for those vaccines on time for the Oman government, for being there for each and every individual who called for help. I could see y'all were having so many people to handle, so many emergency situations were there, which y'all handled so beautifully. God bless you and the entire team. You all have really been there for each and every one of them during the crisis. So thank you so much for that.
Certainly, certainly.
Thank you very much. Deeply appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for Riyaz Sambuddin and His Excellency. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Gaurav.
Okay, thank you. Moving further, now I request CA Sajid ji to introduce our panelist, Mr. Abdul Razak Al-Balushi.
Thank you, Gaurav ji. It's indeed our privilege and honor to have Mr. Abdul Razak Al-Balushi as one of the panelists today. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being on board with us as a panelist for the event. Mr. Razak Al-Balushi joined Ooredoo in 2016
and is a veteran with nearly 30 years of experience in finance and different industries. With a strong track record in transformation both within the finance function and throughout the organization, Al-Balushi has spearheaded a number of major projects in business process improvement and customer engagement that steer Ooredoo through its digital transformation journey. Al-Balushi believes that the new age of CFOs are not just conventional finance and accounts experts, but have a broader mindset, and today's they are economists, commercialists, technologists, strategists necessary to remain close to highly volatile market activities and mitigate risk against business disruption. Well noted. An enabler of talent development, Ooredoo's Chief Financial Officer Abdul Razak Al-Balushi was named one of the region's top CFOs by the New Age Finance and Accounting newspaper. His vast work experience comes from banking, oil and gas, shipping, business consultancy, commodity trading, and telecommunication industries. He holds an MBA from UK. He is also a certified treasury and finance professional, an accredited financial analyst, and a chartered economist. In addition, he holds certificates in accounting and banking and trade. With this, I invite CA Al-Balushi to have some word to our members. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, Gauravji.
Okay. Mr. Abdul Razak, you want to say something, or should we move forward?
No, please continue. I just want to thank you for your introduction.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Now I request CA Sangeeta Suresh to introduce Mr. Suleiman.
Thank you, Gauravji. Before the formal introduction, let me congratulate Mr. Suleiman for the new appointment as CEO for the Oman Fisheries SAOG. Mr. Suleiman Al-Ghanani, it's my privilege to formally introduce and welcome you on this platform. He has held several leadership positions in local and international companies and has extensive experience in corporate finance, strategy, business management, external audit field, and strategy implementation with companies in which he worked, such as PwC, Dry Dock Company, and Oman Air. From the academic perspective, his master's degree in business administration from Franklin University of America, bachelor's degree in accounting from Sultan Qaboos University, and he has even completed the National CEO Program, IMD. And with this, I extend my warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation on behalf of ICAI Muscat Chapter to be one of our panelists for the CFO meet. Thank you. Over to you, Gauravji.
Thank you, CA Sangeeta Suresh. Now I request CA Digan to introduce and welcome Mr. Haitham Al-Saadi.
Thank you, CA Gauravji. On behalf of ICAI Muscat Chapter, I would like to welcome our today's panelist, Mr. Haitham Al-Saadi, who is the CFO of Oman Flour Mills SAOG. Mr. Haitham Al-Saadi is a dynamic finance professional with multi-industry exposure. He has always strived to make a difference and is eager to challenge the status quo and is passionate about talent development. His previous corporate experiences include Oman Air, Oman Shipping, Ooredoo, and Oman LNG. He is a member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants since 2009. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Commerce and Economics from Sultan Qaboos University with a specialization in accounting. He also has a Master's in Business Administration from Sultan Qaboos University. He is the alumni of the National CEO Program sponsored by the government of Oman. With this small introduction, sir, I welcome you on behalf of ICAI Muscat Chapter, and thank you so much for your kind presence and accepting our invitation. Gauravji.
Thank you, CA Digan, and welcome, Mr. Haitham. Now I request CA Shilpa to introduce and welcome Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi.
Thank you, CA Gaurav. It is my proud privilege and honor to welcome our next panelist, Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi, the CFO of Oman LNG LLC. Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi is a fellow chartered certified accountant from the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants in the UK. He graduated from the Sultan Qaboos University with a Bachelor of Science in Accounting. He started his career with the PDO, and in 2003, he joined Oman LNG in hydrocarbon accounting, financial accounting, and reporting. In 2010, he was promoted to lead the strategic planning and economic section before he was seconded to Qatar Shell on international assignment as the senior business analyst. In 2004, he returned to Oman LNG as a senior manager, financial accounting, and thereafter was promoted to be the chief financial officer in January 2021. His immense exposure to the upstream and midstream in oil and gas industry has enabled him to gain an array of both knowledge and experience in the industry at large. Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi is a member of the Oman LNG Refinancing Committee, the chairman of the Sponsorship and Donation Committee, a member of the ACCA Oman Advisory Committee, in addition to being the member of the SQU Accounting Board Committee. He was also a board member in Sohar Power Company representing Kalhat LNG. Sir, we are immensely proud to have you as our panelist and look forward to hearing your views. Welcome to the event, sir. Over to you, CA Gaurav.
Thank you very much. And first, I would like to thank I wish all the best His Excellency Mono Mohari in his next assignment. And I would like also to thank you very much, CA Chapter Muscat and the Institute Chartered of Accounting in India for inviting us to this forum. And we hope that we can deliver the best to this forum. Thanks.
So we are honored that you accepted. So we look forward to hearing you. Over to you, CA Gaurav.
Thank you, CA Shilpa. And welcome again, Mr. Kameez. We look forward to hearing from all our panelists today. Now, who is going to control the panelists is the moderator. So I request CA Sangeeta ji to welcome and introduce Mr. Fatiq Al-Balushi.
Thank you, Gaurav ji. I feel this is my great opportunity and privilege to formally welcome and introduce Mr. Fatiq Al-Balushi. He holds the position of CFO in Oman Cement Company, SAOG. Mr. Balushi has over 18 years of cross-industry experience spanning from oil and gas, petrochemical to manufacturing, with multidiscipline leadership in finance and commercial functions, contracts and procurement, risk and insurance, strategy, and project financing and management. He started his career with Oman LNG, managing debt, investment, risk and insurance functions. He served as finance director of Salala Methanol Company LLC until 2019. He is currently the chief financial officer of Oman Cement Company, SAOG. He has successfully led the delivery and management of various mega projects of refinancing of more than $2 billion. He won the Deal of the Year Award from IPF, IJ Global, and TXF for the internationally recognized financing deal, PECHM. Improvement of companies' overall performance through lean practices, delivering outstanding achievements. He has optimized synergies and integrations between the companies and other assets under the group. From academic point of view, he holds an Executive Leadership Certificate from Said Business School, Oxford University of UK, an Executive Leadership Certificate from IMD Switzerland, an MBA Finance from University of Leicester, UK, and BSc in Honours and Finance from Sultan Qaboos University. With this, I would extend the warm welcome to our Mr. Fatiq Al-Balushi for being the moderator for the CFO meet. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being here, sir.
Thank you, Sangeeta. You made a bit of a significant slam dunk by introducing the panel and setting the scene for us to interact, and hopefully our kind of discussion and I will go to philosophical debates might enrich the chapter meeting today. And as well, we would like, as my colleagues have already wished, the chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Manu Maharan, all the best in his future engagements, as well also our guest of honor, Mr. Nihar Jamra, the CA, who used to be manning the show before Ravi comes in. We are here to support the chapter and support the profession wherever we could by contributing from the Omani caliber, Omani cadre, which has been growing over years with this specific multinational exposure, among which the Indian fellows who have supported the industries and the growth of the country. Thank you for all, and thank you for this engagement arrangement itself.
Yes,
floor is yours, sir.
Yes, I was with the screen or the floor is yours. You can start the discussions.
So we are good to start. I think the topic is quite set rightly by the various introduction, either from the chief guest or the guest of honor. The COVID and the current COVID scenarios, which we have lived over the last 1.5 years plus, and still ongoing as a reality and a shift of norm, has already put us into different challenges and different alignment and a constant reality of change that we need to adapt to be the fittest in order to survive. Many of those industries across the globe, among which Oman and specific corporate, have suffered significantly if they had not had proper preparedness plan or business continuity plans, either being in the manufacturing, either being the supply chain, either being in the telecom, either being through the aviation, and also the oil and gas. So by one means or another, we have been touched by this pandemic events. Now, the theme of the discussion is falling around the current economic scenarios and whatever the future would hide for us, and what we can just really predict and work in a proper planning and prediction. In such interaction, I would follow a question to Mr. Abdulrazak from the telecom side, as telecom came to play a very significant role during the COVID by allowing us to work from home and making efficient deliverable happening with no kind of requirement to come on physical attendance. So, Mr. Abdulrazak, under the COVID era, we see that the digital transformation was drastic, and we now have the new norm, especially in terms of conducting business remotely, working from home, either also the cutting on other travel and meetings which need to have face-to-face. How do you adapt yourself, or how you have adapted yourself and equipped Ooredoo team, the staff, with this quite reaction and preparedness? As well, what were the challenges that you have faced, and how did you overcome them over the period of this 1.5 years? Another element to that as well, are we going to see new industries evolving or others to fade? A question from a perspective to the telecom. You may shed some lights, please.
Thank you, Fatek, and thank you all the guests and all the panelists. I think I will just go back in 2018 and 17. We were just discussing actually how we can move to a remote environment, and we thought, oh, let's hire a consultant, let's hire specialists to help us how we move to remote working environment. But it was surprising that telecom, especially in Ooredoo, we were able to move to online environment within a week, actually, where a little bit it was a surprise, actually, but we were able to move people and get connected everyone within a week, actually. And it was a great success. It was a great achievement. And I think it was not that challenging and difficult, maybe because we were in the we are from the telecom industry. But I think it was not that challenging. We were able to connect people, and also we took certain advanced decisions. So we were very rapid and decisive how we can manage and take out the people and contain these corona. So we let all the people to go away, and we connected everyone, and there were regular meetings, online meetings, and this there was a less disruption in the business, and I think it was fully actually even the staff were more productive actually when during the online actually. So it was a quite interesting time actually. So it was quite smooth and easy to manage, to be frank. We are currently considering also to how we model now, whether we go hybrid, whether we go full online. So all these considerations are on the table. So that's the plan. We will study all these benefits, and then we'll see how we move forward in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulrazak, quite enriching. And giving this, let's move to Haytham with regard to the current industries on the flour mill and the supply of food and sustainability. How would you see, Haytham, the current and future challenges that we will face globally, specifically, either you tackle from supply chain, from the stability of the stock inventories, and also the preparedness of each company to tackle these circumstances if we live this in the reality forward?
Well, Fatik, this is a very interesting topic. But we learned that COVID brought change very fast. So this, just to give you an example of unpreparedness in what we do around our life. So if I talk about global challenges, I mean, and especially in the food industry, we talk about food security. We have a big agenda, not only at my company's level, but I think it's a nation level and the global level. So people talk about food security. So food security is a major challenge that we need to tackle, along with other challenges. But you cannot talk also about challenges without mentioning the big challenge, which is climate change. And climate change is real. And working in the food industry really made me see the impact of climate change. The wildfires that we see, the flooding and the extreme weather conditions means that the supply chain will be impacted. We've seen countries where harvest was like a normal thing suffering. We see countries which used to be a net exporter becoming a net importer. I mean, I think India, one of them, I mean, we started to see also India importing some grains, I mean, to cover these shortages. So climate change is very important challenge that we need to deal with. And as finance and accounting professions, we always say that this might not be a hot topic for us. But if we really realize it, it is having a significant impact on the sustainability of the companies that we work in. So I would rank climate change as the biggest challenge. And then moving to the second, I would say also consumer behavior. COVID again, I mean, anything, we will be linking it to COVID nowadays. So COVID accelerated the move to online retailing, customers going online and doing their purchasing through online means. Now, why is that a challenge? If some companies or some organizations are fortunate to adopt the online channels long time ago before COVID, but there were a lot of companies who still till date, they don't have the channel where the customers can go and transact. So this is a big challenge that I see, and especially here in Oman. You try your luck with some leave the big names and go to the middle class companies and to get something from them through the online, so they're not there. So that's a big challenge. There is a mismatch between how the market is behaving and how we are as a sector reacting to that. And the third challenge, I would say that a continuation from what Abdul Razak mentioned about working from home or the new way of working. I hope that we learned from COVID that things can be done remotely. And I hope that we don't fall back to the trap and say, let's go back to normal. Because guess what? Normal is not the old normal. It's a new normal. We need really to spend a lot of time on reskilling and upgrading the skills of the workforce to deal with the technology. What is interesting here is the cost of reskilling is much more than hiring someone with the skill set that you want. So this brings a big challenge, and especially here I would say in Oman and in the region. In a nutshell, these are the three main challenges that I foresee impacting globally as well as Oman.
Thank you, Mr. Haytham. Very enriching and very structured response, which I would have taken from the last point. You have brought an enticing, I would call it, sometimes people call it bogus view on the carbon emission and the global warming and the climate changes. But let's hear from industry, which is really contributing, I would call it, very effectively to control the emissions on oil and gas. Mr. Kameez, would you like to come and add to the spectrum, saying, now we see that the climate changes, the global warming, as Haytham highlighted, are almost never fading on top of the news. And to be sustainable, reducing CO2 emissions and being quite environment friendly and green corporate, reducing such carbon emissions and footprints is inevitable. And one of the greatest challenges that all industries are facing, specifically if they are in the manufacturing and producing and processing. So what is your corporate strategy to achieve higher productivity with minimum adverse impact to the environment? Also taking this perspective from that we are operating as a corporate social responsible parties in an economy which is well built on late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, may his soul rest in peace, has already put those kind of anchorage of the environment should be always preserved, not just for us, not for our children, but for more generation to come. Over to you, Mr. Kameez.
Thanks, Mr. Fadi. I think the world is moving towards reduction of CO2 and greenhouse gases. If the world doesn't react to that, I think the temperature of the world is increasing rapidly, and then in 20, 30 years from now, it will be, we'll see a lot of crises and catastrophic events. And we've seen nowadays that things are really, this is something like a hot topic. You know that the marine, for example, the marine industry, there is an international marine guidelines, or basically directive to reduce the emission, which is basically forcing some of the vessels or all the vessels to move away or to reduce the emissions, which means basically to move away from conventional fuels to more cleaner fuels like LNG. So LNG also, we are in LNG industry, and that is a good opportunity for LNG to substitute part of that fuel. But again, our also mandate is to export, but not for this purpose. But I understand the government is basically exploring some opportunities on this area, so that the marine services could reduce rapidly or could contribute to the reduction of CO2. Now, also the trend, the market basically is towards giving favoritism to the those industries which reduce the low emissions. There we understand that, for example, in Oman LNG, we try to how we come up with some projects to reduce the emissions. Like, for example, recently the company has invested in a new power project. This is a new technology which reduces the emission compared to the old gas turbines. So we are moving to gas engines in this project, which the company invested a lot of money. So overall, I think the world is moving towards renewables, moving towards renewables energy, moving towards reducing the greenhouse gases, because a must to follow this. As I said, the industry is changing. Even the buyers of our LNG now giving a premium to those companies which reduce greenhouse gases, which make it economical to invest in such projects to reduce the greenhouse gases. In addition to that, our country has set up very stringent, strict laws and procedures in terms of the environment. So the fiscal policies also are set well in place. We have also the Ministry of Environment, which is also monitoring those emissions, and I'm very impressed when I see that there are actions coming on the companies to close certain gaps, and we've seen that in our company as well, where it really requires a lot of investments and big investments. Some of those investments, we call it low-hanging fruits. Some of it's very capital intensive. So it is a challenging between the capex you put in place to reduce those emissions and to meet cleaner energy, especially with the renewables, because they are very expensive to be invested on. They are becoming attractive day after day, but still it will be challenging. Some of the companies have put a very stretching target to reach that. I know, for example, I know about Total, for example, they put a very strict target to move to renewables in certain number of years, and also other companies. So I think we cannot ignore this. This is going to be, as Haytham mentioned, the reality is going to be different. So what we have to do is normal. It will not be any longer normal. The normal is going to be something else. So we should be ready for that. We should be the pioneer. Otherwise, we'll be left behind and then become redundant. So I hope I have addressed your question, Fatih.
Quite comprehensively, Mr. Kameez. Thank you for this. And you raise a valid point on the financing and what do you call it, leeway or the incentives that fund providers would always incentivize those who are coming to protect the environment and trying to be away from the fossil fuel use and emissions to create a bit of more sustainable global controlled temperatures, and also that's a survival for all to come. Now,
not only that, Fatih, just if I add, recently there was a tender in Singapore of one LNG cargo where basically it was not allowed for all the, let's say, conventional sellers. So they attracted only the green sellers. So which indicates now where is the direction is going on.
Thank you, Kameez. Thank you, Haytham. You have already put a nice kind of pathway for the discussion on the funding and the green gases and the CO2s and how we move around the global warming and what we need to do as corporate. Mr. Suleiman, I would go around the same theme of the funding. From funding perspective, capital projects, working capital requirement point of view, what do you see the challenges that you are facing to raise funds, either from your previous experience or the new challenge that you're going to come to face as a CEO of Oman Fisheries companies? Are you comfortable to raise it in a specific currency, being Omani Riyal, as excess liquidity available in the market, or you would like to shift to the USDs or on other currencies if they are having, I would call it optimal or cheapest cost whenever it comes to the financing element, with specific reference to the cost element, to the unease of the raising of the funding, giving the T's and C's that those international players on the fund provider put on challenges to anyone who would like to borrow or grow. Also, there's a perspective of challenges on the regulatory requirement and the policies internally, either in the government, either in the law of land, and how would you interact around that? How would you rely on more of local liquidity or shifting it to regional, or even considering the foreign fund providers? The perspective would be good that we hear your voice around it from experience point of view, and whatever the perspective for future, please.
Thank you, Fatik, and happy to be here today. It's a big topic, and I think it's maybe 10 questions in one question. I'll try to address the most of them. Maybe before we go through the details of the capital funding and working capital, talking about the environmental and CO2 reduction. I've actually, even in the airline field, I know some of the airlines in the region, they've raised fund by promoting less impact on environment. And there are actually, maybe for the first time, banks are financing those schemes. And even the cost of funding based on what we know, it was actually cheaper than the normal scheme of funding. So actually, even the banks are responding to this. Yes, I want to make this perspective in the table as well. When we come back to Oman, and if I speak about my previous job from an airline perspective, financing an aircraft from an international market was easier than financing it locally, cheaper, and even less requirement of government guarantees recently. We were actually finalizing, a big tender in the airline, where actually we've seen a very strong and positive results of financing an aircraft. When it comes to the working capital requirement, and especially from the local banks, I think the banks, they need to realize that they need to be part of the game. They need to take some risk, because what I've seen, especially during the pandemic, the banks will always ask for government guarantees, or at least 200% securities for any loan they provide. This will be going against the promotion of the country and ease of doing business. But actually, that is, if we want to talk about the reality of ease of doing business, financing is one of the big elements, which the banks needs to play maybe a major role, and they need to be part of the development in the country, and they need to look into different aspects of getting their risk covered. In terms of regulations and all, I think also the Central Bank of Oman needs to play a part, because today I think most of the local banks sometimes even dictating their own terms and conditions in some of the loans, and for the SMEs and even for the new innovative ideas, they get killed before they start because of the difficulty in getting funds. So I think this needs to be part of maybe the Ministry of Commerce in looking into what are the new regulations linked to Oman Vision 2040, because there are brilliant ideas, strong business plans, but they die because doing or getting the funding is more difficult. And especially with Oman rating now going to the regional and international banks from a business perspective, not supported by government, not government companies, will be difficult also to get fund, mainly linked to the Oman rating as well. So I hope I covered majority of the questions, Fatik, you put there.
You have added.
I just want to add, Suleiman, if I can
Yes,
comment on Mr. Suleiman. Thanks, Suleiman, for the comprehensive overview. I think what I realized recently, the government was doing for those entities which can approach the international market, they are told to directly approach the international market and keep some space for those local entities. So the local banks can basically, because if the big companies exhaust the capacity of the local banks, then the SME really struggles a lot. So I think one point that or one credit we should give to the Ministry of Finance and the debt office, management debt office, I think they provided a guideline that to provide for the big companies who can leverage from international market to approach the international market, and to leave that space or that capacity for the small companies and small to medium-sized companies. Just wanted to add a comment on that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It looks like we are moving more towards environment perspective as well, also on sustainable HSC's elements about health in this COVID circumstances. But I cannot agree more to whatever Kameez and Anthems and Suleiman has already urged for the funding and the challenges. From a perspective that I've attended, we had a kind of a project based on fossil fuel coal to be quite funded. And unfortunately, you've seen that some of those international players, as maybe Suleiman have already brought, that they will shy away. And even as Kameez said, whenever the trading and the contract, if it does have a specific emission, even if it is controllable within the specific range and tolerable according to the European standards and the States and other North Americans, they will still load you with plenty of T's and C's, and it might be heavy to go. How is this perspective from the telecom, Abu Abdullah, Mr. Abdulrazak, on the funding, and also having people who are well versed to manage this for you as a CFO? How would you just also equip your team with the right caliber, and is it a challenge in this perspective? There's another philosophical debate about what kind of qualified or qualification that we need to go into preparing our treasury team and other financial controls, other kind of risk investments. All those elements would need to be quite casted along for the fund providing. How do you see Ooredoo from this perspective on the preparedness, and what are the challenges that you have faced, and how would you forecast it for the future, please?
Yeah, I think the financing for the telecom currently at this situation, because the major actually investment or capex investment was done during 4G now. Now we are moving now to 5G element actually. So 5G element is basically required further intensive capex requirement as well. So the capacity of the local banks or the appetite of the financing is quite small actually in Oman. So normally we always target the international banks and regional banks in this perspective. Because telecom is a very important actually driver for the future, actually for the future, even for the government digitalization program as well, which is a part of 2040 as well. So, but the issue is not there. The biggest challenge we are facing now is also the royalties and the taxes, which are real burdening the working capital actually, and also letting the investor a little bit shy away for putting additional or a rapid investment in 5G actually, because 5G is the enabler of the AIAs, robotics, and smart city. So if you want to invest, you need support from the banks, from the government, from the regulatory to basically reduce the pressure of the additional cost actually in this prospect. So I do not see always the appetite is available in the local market. They are limited in terms of capacity, especially when it comes to the big capex requirements. So this is from the financing perspective. Now, what is happening? The working cash flow is getting pressure because the price war is stretching actually. Now we are going to have another third operator in the market, which is going to pressure actually the price war. Yeah, so it will basically, you have to reduce your investment. It will threat your investment basically. So it will slow down the 5G progress. Yeah. So whatever ambitions government has, it will slow it down. So we require here as industry, telecom industry requires support from the government and from the banks to support this telecom industry, because it's one of the most strong pillar of connectivity between not only locally with all the stakeholders globally actually. Now moving to the competency levels, yeah. Now what I've seen or what I've observed, most of the majority of my staff are ACCA graduates actually, which is good actually. But what is missing from the experts, from certified treasurers, certified analysts actually, we need more, because this is the time now of the big data, and we need more analysts actually. So we need certified analysts in this environment. It's not only for the telecom, even for the other industries. I think it's time to become more analysis. You have to have more data, so your decisions are more clear and you move forward in your plannings. So I would always urge my team to move on, and go for additional length actually. So somebody having ACCA, I encourage him to go for also additional. So he can go to SEMA, he can go to, or specialize based on selective skills as well. So this is a challenge, but we are moving on. I've seen also, I always ask my employees, where you want to be in 5 years, So based on that, I try to help them, because they have to understand where they are moving. Finance is not only accounting, yeah. It's more specialized now. It's totally different now. Finance is totally different. So you have to become more, even in terms of technology, you have to understand the technology as well. So I think the competencies and skills, we should encourage our staff to go and have become multi skills actually, rather than focusing one area. And so that's my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulrazak. Quite a pain in the process for raising funds, which we share all. Clean funding arrangement, which we have been taught during theory's time in school and university, is not whatever we see in the reality. It depends on how secure is this kind of fund arrangement, based on specific mitigation for the risk associated to any project or transaction. There's much of elements that the local bank sector needs to come and the regulator to work into making this efficient, clean funding happens, with backing up all the industries, rather than singly driving it maybe on a most competitive to oil and gas or other maybe industries that can be quite positive to them. Because eventually it's all about how you also secure your kind of performance drivers, what do you call it, the income over the year for the player in those industries. However, I believe there's more element to discuss about the professional cadre and the preparedness of all the CFOs to be quite thinking how we just really have a proper mix, as Abdulrazak said, bringing analysts, certified analysts, treasury practitioners, risk managers being quite qualified, looking into a portfolio and investment management professions who are either CFAs or whatever if required once it comes to an investing companies. All those perspectives constitute specific challenges, but we as C-levels, we need to plan it properly so at least we have the cadre available, being quite balanced between local and expat to almost transit and slide their kind of experience and knowledge, enriching those local young fellows to grow. That's how we see it to come, and we hope that government will look into also revising or looking into specific elements of taxes if it requires, or royalty charges, as the telecom and manufacturing of mining and metal industries also are quite loaded with these charges. Maybe revisiting on kind of the normal line of margins and reviving it to the historical trend whenever the cycle comes to be quite a stress. This is some dilemmas that we face, and some of those we will just leave to look from this perspective. Mr. Abdulrazak, you have brought this big data and the data science. There's a question from one of the gentlemen, Garag, if I'm not mistaken, asking, once you are talking about the data sciences and data analysts, as they are high in demand in India, as well in current scenarios, how do you see Oman coming ready and having supply for such kind of caliber that you will always look for?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier, that because you need more analysts now. The data is the biggest game in the future. Actually, it's a future. Digital transformation would depend on the big data actually. So it is very necessary and it is very critical that we support, or guide the new calibers or new young Omanis to basically invest in education in this area, because we need, for all the industries, we need the big data will be a critical area where, because it's gonna give you a 360-degree visibility on whatever you want to see. Yeah, either your products, either your financials or your reporting or whatever you need to see, you can see it through big data. But again, you need to have more investment in this area. You have to move from your legacy IT structure. You have to go bigger than that, because sometimes what is happening, we avoid, we do not think long term, we just think short term. We said, okay, we just keep on add-ons. So you keep on adding additional feature on your legacy IT structure, which is in the long term is gonna become spaghetti actually. So you cannot basically find the right output at the end. So that's why I think it is necessary to I would advise or recommend always kick out your legacy structure and build a new structure if you would really like to move to future digital transformation. Yeah, because return on investment, if you do your return on investment calculation on this, you will find in the long term is quite beneficial for you. It will help you and support you even in your supply chain, in your procurement processes, in your financial reporting, you name it. Yeah. So I think big data is the big success for the future. So your success factor for the digital transformation is one of it is the big data.
Thank you,
if I can add,
Mr.
Fatih, I think what is also I want to add one point, which is before we jump into the execution. Abdul Razak, what you mentioned is entirely right. But what we learned from our experience, first thing is to build digitalization strategy. And the moment you have the digitalization strategy, it will basically capture all the points you mentioned, Abdul Razak, plus also the other solutions for the future, which includes robotics solution, augmented reality, all data analytics. They are, you cannot put one and ignore the others. I think they need to have a clear digitalization strategy and with the infrastructure in place in the organization, and then you can move ahead. Because otherwise you might do wrong things, and then you find that you invested already in certain infrastructure while it is not the right infrastructure or not the right structure. So the first important thing is to have a digitalization strategy which covers all these areas. And then of course you cannot implement the whole thing in one go because it's very expensive, and also we don't have the resources for it. But then if you have a strategy over a number of years, you can achieve reasonable milestones. Thanks, Abdul Razak and Fatih.
Thank you, Kameez. You brought a nice element supporting the Vision 2040 for the government, which is all of us, we are aiming to synchronize fully to the dot, among which also putting this kind of innovative and creative technologies put in hand, delivering even smart cities through the telecom sector. Hopefully, Abdul Razak and Ooredoo's and the other players in the market comes to play a significant role around it. Haytham, also to this element, there was one question raised by Mr. Ramanda coming around a statement which you have already shared. He liked it, saying that you have brought in cost of reskilling being costlier than the hiring of skilled workforce. Yes. Would you like to take more around this, because we are speaking about the cadre, the professional cadre available, and the development of the people. But sure, before you come, I like the point that Abdul Razak raised, that we need to prepare the people from the student time till they come to a matching concept for the demand of the market, which we are facing and speaking here. Over to you, Haytham, and then I think Sulaiman, there is another question coming from the audience. We'll hit it to you. Yes, Haytham, please.
Sure. So my statement was situational. It's taking into consideration the current scenario. You have high unemployment rate. We have a lot of people who studied data science, people who studied programming, how to deal with robotics and all these things. So they are readily available in the market. Take the example of an accountant or a finance professional. You want to train him in programming or in data science. So that investment that you will make, first of all, it will take time and capital to be put in this. While on the other hand, the resources are available. So that's the reskilling option, because as businesses, you always have option A, option B. So option one is, do I reskill the people, or go and get someone who's a specialist, experienced in these fields? So it's a situational statement. Yes, I know sometimes we do get this, that CFOs don't like to invest in talent, but to the contrary, I would say, we do, especially in my case, I take talent development, reskilling as something that is fundamental. I do always advise my finance colleagues to really, my advice always is that you are in the right position to take it to the next level. If you really invest in IT skills, to become a data analyst, you can link the finance and non-finance things faster. So I always encourage them actually to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Haytham. You brought the same old saying. Whenever I always repeat it, a CFO asks his CEO. What if we invest in developing those people and they flee or leave and depart? Then the CEO, and now this is to you, Sulaiman, since you are in that ladder, also you need to such an enforcement down the line. The CEO repeated and said or answered What if we don't and they stay? The dilemma of the balance that need to be stricken on investment that need to be put and the reward that yet to come. Abu Bashar, Mr. Sulaiman, point around this. Would you like to add to the spectrum of the discussion on the professional cadre and the balance of the development of people and succession planning? But before that, if you don't mind, there was one question from Sachin or a comment raising around whatever you have said around the local banks becoming a part of economic growth by taking more risk. Which is really now is not the real story that we've seen it in some specific industry. Why he's bringing this up? He's saying most of the banks took the decision to stop providing additional funds to specific companies, which may use the sort of deferment schemes offered by the government as negated, as nullified, as not helping those companies to come and be quite standing during such COVID time. So if you wish to handle this and answer it, attending the question, and then we go to the professional development, succession planning, and over to you, please.
Yep, thank you, Fat. Yeah, I think one thing we have to realize, we should not generalize, the issue. We know there are some companies might not take what they are doing seriously, but there are industries and that the country, as part of the Vision 2040, will be depending on them to ensure the growth and to ensure the implementation of the Vision 2040. And if we leave everything to the government companies and to the government to do, then the banking sector and everything will be in a more risk, because if those government companies continuing not to perform based on their mandates, and then the government will take over everything and restructuring, and it will go into a bigger dilemma. Supporting the private sector and taking their efforts hand by hand and moving forward, I think will add more value. Going back to the talent, I think one of the biggest issues that needs to be tackled at the C level, at the CEO's level, is how the HR department looks into the succession plan. Because unfortunately, in some of the organizations, HR, they see succession plan and even personal development plan as a box that they need to tick that they've done it. But actually they don't, they don't implement, they don't, take it seriously. They just needs to implement it, to put it in their plan and ticked, it's been approved by the board or by the shareholders or by the CEO, and implementation is not done. And on the other aspects is actually what you've just stated. CFOs look at it. Why should we invest on them? Because I think one of the issues is a high turnover, especially on the young Omanis. 2 years and a half, and they move to another organization, and then some of the organizations, they see it as a waste of investment. But actually, if we do it right from day one, and we link their education and their development and their professional certificates to their growth, and it's clear. I've seen it, to be honest. I spent 2 years of my career in Canada, where the young graduates, they have a clear succession plan and development plan in their program with HR and their department, and they see their growth moving as per plan. And the people who don't want, to work hard and develop themselves, they will see themselves in a corner that they have to leave the organization. So I think we need to build an internal system that supports the people who work hard and go into their professional programs, and they see their career path is clear, and they see the companies actually deliver what they promise. So that's where I see where we should focus on going forward as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sulaiman. Quite an angle that you have brought in, also putting such a balance. There's a question which I would always keep for people shifting from one position to another. What would the change of priority would be? And Sulaiman, we are all congratulating you for whatever the shift that you have taken in your career path from a CFO and with a new responsibility under a CEO level for Oman Fishery Company. We have much of challenges in the fishery sectors and industries, and whatever people speaking about the fish are quite available, but most of those are not reaching the market or being quite exported. And is it not a kind of a specific tick of the price? We will not drill down on this, but what would be the priorities for you shifting from a CFO to CEO in the current circumstances and the future to come?
Yes, Fatih. Actually, I need to change my hat. Number one, moving from a CFO to a CEO, I need to see different boxes. Where when I was leading the finance, maybe we look into the numbers, top line, and what is the bottom line. Moving into a CEO, there are more, priorities that we need looked at from a human capital point of view, stakeholders management, dealing with the government bodies down all the way to the fishermen. Maybe one of the key priorities is changing the reputation of the organization, going down to the perspective of the consumers. The fish is available, but why not available in the local market with the quality and everything? So it's a quite interesting and challenging move, and I hope I can add value to the organization and to fulfill what the shareholders and the board has put as a mandate to this company.
We wish you all the success, Mr. Sulaiman, and as brothers and professional peers, we are also available for whatsoever support and check all the boxes. As also you have a board member sitting on Oman Fisheries companies. Haytham, how do you see such kind of move, bringing a cadre who is well-meant and experienced across different industry, adding value to the industries that you are also overseeing in the fishery side?
Well, this question should go to the recruitment panel, not to me. Anyway, so to me, always a fresh. I moved 6 jobs or 6 industries, so I always feel that a fresh eye brings new things and also makes you look at things differently. Yeah, and you bring the good things that you learn from telecom, oil and gas, logistics, aviation, and the juice of all these experiences can be really unleashed and unlock hidden values or hidden gems, as we call it in companies. In particular, finance and CFO are always known to know everything going on in their company, so they know it all, yeah. So they have the insights from, and it gives them that position to يعني كما يقولوا organic growth from a CFO to a CEO is always يعني supported, I would say, nowadays. In the past, Oman used to be dominated by engineering. So people will always prefer engineers because the idea is that engineers are structured. Engineers can put discipline. But we always debated that also finance professionals, CFOs are also disciplined, are also structured. So I see that change is happening, and we see a lot of new CEOs are CFO backgrounds. So I hope I answered your question.
Couldn't be answered better, and I see also the audience, and I see Diga and Pandya clapping. So a round of applause for you and Sulaiman for such kind of an answer. Thank you for attending it properly. And we have another question, Kameez, from the audience coming around the digitalization strategy. If people doesn't have it, this is a question from Mr. Prabhu Ramanda. He's saying, could you suggest, please, a practical tips for companies that would like to set up a digitalization strategy? I would give this question to you and Abdrazak, if you would like to add to the discussion, please. Kameez, over to you, and Abdrazak. Kameez, your mic is mute. Your mic is mute, Kameez.
Sorry.
Yes,
I'm
please.
sorry. As I mentioned earlier, it's very important to know your direction and the target. You will confuse the organization, number one. Number two, you waste resources, and then you end up nowhere. So it's very, very, very important to from point A to point B. So if this is the point I want to achieve, okay, and then I will draw. Sorry, Fatih.
It looks like the network is a bit choppy. Can you hear Kameez rightly, all audience and panel, please? Ravi?
No, there is some disturbance, Mr.
There is disturbance.
May you come in back, Kameez, please?
I think Kameez is using Oman-tel, that's why.
We will not start putting fear of the competition.
No comment, no comment.
Okay, what I'm saying, what I was saying basically, for not only for digitalization, for anything, you need to understand, you need to decide where you want to go. Do you want to remain where you are, or you want to move ahead of the players? And if you want to do that, you want to move from point A to point B, then you need to have a clear direction and strategy. So if you just do it for the matter of doing it, as others are doing it, then you're not doing fair for the organization. You will confuse the organization because you don't know what you're doing. If you say data analytics, let's put efforts on data analytics because others are doing it, that's not the right reason. Number two, also, this consumes a lot of resources. And the moment you start, you will put a lot of investments. And if that investment is not right, then it will be waste. And that's why it is very important to see what's the objective of the digitalization. Some organization says that I want to reduce maybe on my manpower. Yeah. So where this reduction manpower? Maybe on the routine activities. And then how to reduce those on routine activities? Okay, what kind of pillars you need? What kind of digitalization you need? What kind of upskilling and reskilling you need? So what type of data you need? So it depends on what's your objective at the end of the day. Why do you want to do the digitalization? Do you want to, is it for your customer? You want to be customer centristic, so then you can help and support and reach your customer. So how do you reach your customer? So then by asking these good questions, then you will be able to come up with a digitalization strategy and then a roadmap to see which areas you need to tackle. Because again, any decision you will make today, it will have an implication tomorrow. Even if you have, because you have people with you in your organization, you need to upskill those people because you cannot fire people, especially in certain environments, you can't fire. And then people also will not support it if they're included as part of the strategy. So as I said, digitalization strategy is very important. It starts from the very fundamentals up to the management of change and the implementation.
Thank you, Kameez. Abu Abdullah, Mr. Abdrazak, would you like to add?
Yeah, I just would like to add, I think Kameez already covered the main concerns. Yeah, I think that the biggest issue is as Kameez said, the plan itself. Yeah, and before planning, you need to understand the definition actually. Yeah, people are getting basically mixed up with automation, with digitalization, with digitization. So all these definition has different objectives and different milestones, yeah? So you have to from beginning, before you're preparing your plan, you need to understand what is your objective. What do you want to achieve? Yeah, because it's not necessary for all the organization. They have to have this transformation. Yeah, maybe you as an industry, you need only maybe 10% of digitalization and 20% of automation and 20% of digitization. Yeah, it depends on your activities. What is your activities? Whether you are interacting with the customers, or you are interacting with retail or wholesale market. So, and what is your supply chain? You know, so you need to understand first your definition. You have to define your definition first, whether you need automation, you need digitalization, or you need digitization. So automation is the beginning, actually, is the first element, and then you have the digitalization, and then you have the digitization. Yeah, digitization is actually at the advanced level, yeah, of the digitalization or transformation program. And then we as finance, as CFOs, we always measure, yeah. You want to do, you have to see your business case, and you have to see your return on investment, yeah. You're going to invest a couple of, as Kameez was saying, people will just go for sake of, it's now a dilemma. It's become like a logo for all. If you don't have the plan in your strategy, digital transformation, you feel yourself you're lacking. It's not that. Actually, you need to understand first, do you really need these elements? Do you need transformation or not? And what is the level of digitalization you need? Then you need to see your business case, whether it's feasible or not. And also the timing, yeah? And you have to move also your plan with the infrastructure, yeah? Now, whether your infrastructure, the government, e-commerce is ready, is the 5G penetration or availability is in the country. So all these factors you have to measure, and then you can move to your next investment. Otherwise, your investment will be waste, as Kameez stated, and you will not reach to any level, actually. Then it will be just a sunk cost, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulrazak. Very value adding to the discussion around the digitalization, automation, and the digital strategy. Abdulrazak, you've already answered indirectly on a question raised by Garag with regard to that automation, digitalization, and being quite important factors. But this would remove the human interventions and a possible area of errors, and will create efficiencies in the system. But hopefully the bots or the robots or the programming won't take over human beings, what do you call it, jobs, and still would have that support. Business and environment would evolve differently, as human beings always find a way to secure the living, inshallah. Now, over to you, Abdulrazak, with regard to a question that I have missed out to ask you initially, which fall under bringing the systems in place using the technology and innovation. We see it as a game changer, but do you see that we as corporate, we need to invest heavily in such down the time? We are putting budgets and also planning for the strategic 5-year strategic plan, master plans. And how do you synchronize this with the Vision 2040 on this specific particular?
Yeah, I think it is as I earlier I stated, again, it depends on how you're moving with I think the ICT plan of the government is there, actually. It's already Ministry of Transport and Telecom is started working on. And also there, I think they've signed a contract, long-term contract with one of the, I think it's Wipro, one of the IT giants, to basically develop the manpower to become equipped with the ICT and IoT skills. Yeah. So the future is there, the desire is there, but again, it has to be aligned, yeah, with the corporate industry as well. It's not only telecom, it's all the other industries needs to be part of this initiative actually, because it is the future. Innovation is the future. Digitalization is the future. The smart city, the smart supply chain is the future. So I would recommend that all of the industry should invest, but again, as Kameez stated, should invest in a smart way, not just rushing and just investing and putting your money in one go. Yeah, sometimes you get, you see lot of fancy words and fancy demonstration of smart cities and AI and robotics, yeah, but sometimes you forget the underlying challenges, yeah, and surprises. So you need to think also, what are the disablers actually for this? You need to plan your innovation, and you need to create your team as well. You have to have a digital transformation team, the innovation team, to support this initiative. So to me, I think it is the future. You have no choice now. It is going to happen, because if you see the recent corona pandemic disaster happened, because of the connectivity, we were able to connect with each other, and we helped the telecom actually communication become a big partner with the government, actually even supported the online schools and universities, yeah, to be online. So the connectivity, so it's a digitalization is a part of connectivity as well. So innovation is going to bring more easy way. Yeah, it's not about basically eliminating people or letting people to become, because one of the perception we are hearing that if digitalization will happen, the human intervention will be less and people will lose their job. It's not that perception. We need to move out of it actually. We need to think it's a shift of the competency actually. It's not a shift of because at the end the world is driven by a human. Yeah, we are living because of our future generations. Yeah, so the aim is always should be to focus on competencies, building that competency, who can run the digitalization and transformation in the future. So that's why this is the future, and this is the world is going to move. The global world will be connected with the innovation and digitalization. So I would recommend to all the industry C-levels to invest and look at this area in very seriously.
Thank you, Abdrazak. So the paradigm shift in the mindset of ours and the rest of the peers and colleagues practicing these specific move forward should have whatever Abdrazak is putting, because honestly we've seen it, and whatever significant value and enabler such kind of technology and innovation can bring in. Abdrazak, our gentleman Bisham Garga, is also adding value further on the discussion, saying that there's an important role for secure the infrastructure to be built, as it's also the backbone for cryptocurrencies. As soon as also they are seeing it from Indian content, it might be legalized. While I've just read that China is still considering this as being illegal and it's not moving. So how would India move before China, if China is legalized, considering it's illegal? And whatever your perspective and forward thinking around these kind of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and being quite applicable to be put in place in Oman?
Yeah, I think this is another new area. It is a very, so far it's a complicated area. It's still it's a gray area. This is the area where still people lacking actually the expertise actually. But it is a future. Fintech is going to feature. Again, it's a competency as well, because cryptocurrencies and all are going to be the future, yeah. But again, you have to have also a secured platform, yeah. Security will be a key issue in this business, yeah. You have to understand that you are well secured and you are not dealing with scam, yeah, because there are a lot of initial scams happen in this business. People lost a lot of money in this area. So I think security is the key element in this business. And the future, I think this is gonna be moved. This will continue, and this is going to be a success story again, despite China will try, to push it back because it's not in their favor. That's the way they think, because US is trying to, push cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins and all this business in industry in a new shape. So I think this would have a good future. But again, you have to understand the security element. If you don't understand the security element, you will be part of this scam in this business. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdrazak. You are always enriching the discussion once it comes to technology and leading from this perspective. Very much, I would call it constructive answer. I have one question for you, Suleiman, which is regard, you moved from innovation, from what do you call it, travel and aeroplanes industries and the aviation side to somewhere in the fisheries. Now, mainly, if we look into the perspective of whatever we've got challenged through during the pandemic within the supply chain, the logistics element, the freight, during the pandemic, we've seen that this is quite an impacting element. So how has the freight and cargo been impacting or have impacted your previous engagements, and you've felt it quite of a load, and how you are seeing it in the perspective for your plan into a strategy to mitigate those challenges under such an industry to make it quite competitive? Because you understand you do have a vast, what do you call it, natural resources across the country, and you would need to plan for it in order to be quite deployed in a very cost-effective manner and be quite displacing and stabilizing the market as well. From both sides, over to you, how do you see this and how would you interact on that?
To be honest, during the pandemic, the cargo became the only business for airlines. We've started sending flights with 100% full capacity of the bellies. There is actually even discussions today among the airlines, the logistic companies, and even the government to connect Oman cargo sea to air and air to sea. And I think we will see maybe even air cargo company will be established if the feasibility will support that. So from an aviation perspective, this was a plus because there was a good cash inflow, and actually supported also Ministry of Health during the early stage of supplying or importing the vaccine and the medical equipment. So I see it. It was an eye-opening for the economy of Oman that they need to have a direct connectivity to the source of many markets. And we've seen that also from a SIAD perspective, from Oman Shipping and SIAD ports, where actually the performance during the pandemic is much better than the performance before the pandemic. Moving into the new industry, and I think we connecting the fisheries market to the air cargo and to the airport is going to be one of the elements that we will be looking to have a cooperation, and to ensure the quality of the fish exported to outside the country is meeting the criteria of certain countries as well, to ensure the Oman products quality is recognized. So I see it as a big opportunity, and I think the whole country learned a lot during the pandemic on many aspects, from a cost perspective, from a connectivity, and from a logistic base in Oman, especially in Duqm and Salalah.
I think, can I add to this point?
Yeah, thank you, Sulaiman, and you may come in, Haytham, because also you are involved in such kind of setting the directions around this element, please.
Okay, so let me start by saying during COVID, the chain was broken. Simply, the supply chain was broken. I mean, it was a perfect storm. Issues related to supply. I mean, suppliers are shutting down their facilities. So without their facilities, without their production, you will not have your raw material, means your facility will be impacted. Now, supplier produced, you send it to the port, there is no scheduling from the exporting port to the importing port. So you are at the mercy of the shipping lines. Third, shipping cost went up to the roof. I mean, the Ever Given case and the congestion that we are seeing in China have skyrocketed the freight cost. Now, freight cost is becoming more expensive than the material that you are shipping itself. So it's a perfect storm. See, pre-COVID, we were talking about just in time. Yeah, just in time. Now we are talking about just in time in case. And the in case is that it is in case you get the material. So it really tested our value chain, supply chains, all these investments, developments. A tiny virus ruined the entire thing. So as a fallback, now we see that a lot of companies, and including ours, is doing something called dual sourcing, where we used to import from one supplier or one country. Now we do it from two, just to minimize the risk. There is a massive global move towards increasing inventory levels. And this goes again against the teachings that you should keep minimizing inventory to an optimized level. But the trade-off is operational business continuity or cost. So supply chain have really been tested during COVID, and I think it will not continue the same. And even this freight, small freight issue that we are, not small, of course, it's big issue. No one can tell you when it will finish. Some they'll say by year end, some say by year 2022. So this brings us back to the new norm. New norm is uncertainty. You'll just have to be agile and deal with it as it goes. Yes, you can do your strategies, you can do your planning, but keep that agility aspect in the design. Otherwise, you will be in deep trouble.
Thank you, Haytham. Such kind of adding value as well. Also,
just add, Fatih,
yes,
on the same topic. I think it's a similar case was with the telecom as well. Yeah, this tension, the supply chain tension, which was the result of which resulted to the higher actually shipping cost and also led to the commodity prices go up and other prices go up as well. So same thing, demand of CPEs was very high in the telecom actually. And we had to bring them through flights rather than shipping actually, because of the timing, and that led the cost go almost triple actually. But we have no choice but to accept this crisis situation. So we are still, yes, it has gone little, improved a little bit, but I think still this area is uncertain, as Haytham stated, yeah. So I think this will continue unless the world economy will recover rapidly. If the world economy will continue to be slow, I think this challenge will continue to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdulrazak. We are all speaking the same pain. Maybe some gaining happens at the aviation, but other people still need to reposition their strategy into how, as Haytham said, adding the IC to the GIT. So not just in time, but also in case. Surprisingly, how enriching the acronyms and the jargon that we are enriching for the accounting side. COVID brought EBITDA to be quite EBITDA with C with COVID. and now Item has added GIT with IC in place. So thank you, gentlemen, for the enrichment on the discussion around. And I would like to take one final thought and deliberation discussion around a point raised by Mr. Deepak Dixit. Mr. Deepak is my predecessor in Oman Cement. The CFO, well-immersed, experienced gentleman who is bringing a question saying, can we have the views of the panelists on domestic industries' capabilities to face global competition and government support on self-reliance of country on critical sectors, creating sufficiencies? This goes all across for any industries. How do you find our readiness to compete? Are we fit to be the best, or we still lack specific factors to be brought in? What support that we should look for? And if it is coming from the, I would call shareholders, the governments, different stakeholders. And after that, if we have sufficient time, we will head toward the core-based social responsibility to ask Kameez about how the company is coming up with their philosophy to really have proper CSR communities audit, and specifically that Oman LNG does have a very huge fund for the what do you call it, NGOs organization that they set along PDO and others. I leave the floor to the team to come and interact, and we will just hear from you, please. Who would like to come in? Haitham, Abdulrazak, would you like to address the challenges to be quite most competitively fit to fight, what do you call it, fit to survive? Not just only on the local sector, which you've seen Abdulrazak, you brought the third operator is coming with a challenge, but also with the regional and international, because we need to create a story for branding Omani companies to grow, and how we will need to have the support from all around stakeholders, government, and whatsoever.
Yeah, so I think that the main concern, my main concern is the industry health. Yeah, there are certain industries' health has to sustain. Yeah, so there are certain principles has to be agreed with the government. Yeah, government support is necessary, because the royalty and the taxes we pay, which is basically slowing the investment, the future investment for the industry. I'm talking now about the telecom, but I think it's the same case would be with the other industry as well. So I think the industry together with the government should agree certain principles to run this economy, and how we can sustain. It has to have a balanced situation, we do understand the government is struggling is in his budget, running his budget, but again, if you also squeeze or remove all these benefits from the development of these industries, it's going to hurt the economy in the long term. It's going to hurt the employment. Employment is another big, concern, in the long term, which is going to impact in your social life as well. So to me, I think government should think to reduce all these fees, taxes for the time being, till the economy comes back to is strong position, because currently everyone is looking after cost cutting, the focus is all about cost cutting. So as soon you think about cost cutting, your mindset will continue to shrink. So I think it's time now to think how we grow, how we grow. So if you want to grow the business, it has to be collaborative. You need support from different industries, from different stakeholders, So we have to come all together, have some agreed principle to run this economy. and to sustain this economy of Oman. I think Oman has got excellent infrastructure in terms of transport, in terms of even in terms of telecom. We have all the power or the enablers. We can succeed and we can do much better. And there is a bright future we can bring to Oman. But again, it has to be agreed in one table together, collaborative with the government. Yeah. So the principle for success and to help the 2040 vision, it has to be mutual support from both sectors. This is my point of view.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulrazak. You have really attended this well. In specific perspective, government might need to review and attend not just a bailout, but we need to be fittest on the commercial terms, as long as the margin could be maintained. Specifically, also that we have much of bigger scale of economies around in the neighborhood regions, which might also cut on margin and survival for specific entities or industries. It's a kind of a collaborative approach that has to be brought in from the top down, and learning and hearing from the 360 point degree of review would need to be quite brought in. Thanks, Abdulrazak. Mr. Kameez, one question comes from Pandya with regard to what is the panel thought on the ESG, environment, social, and governance factors? And is it important in companies in Oman or not? Is it going to be a game changer in coming years? Are we creating role for this in our organization or not? I don't know, Pandya, whether he is in oil and gas or maybe audit. We just need to see how this is coming up. Also, the same question to you on the core-based social responsibility audit. As we stated earlier, is it performed as an actual life to understand whatever been delivered as per plan is actual? Are we lagging? Is there any kind of leading organization other than you which is collaborating on this front? Because each one of those elements on the CSR comes from an entity-wise direction. It might be a smaller scale, mid-scale, or bigger scale at Oman LNG side. So how do you wish to take this, please? Over to you.
Thanks, Fatih. I think we in Oman LNG, we are quite ahead of the game. We have Oman LNG and Qalat LNG contributes 1.5% of the profit to the CSR activities. And in fact, we have created a fund separate from the companies just to secure those funds and also to carry out the initiatives and support for the fund. So our fund basically is split into folds. One fold is basically to execute in certain projects annually. And those projects basically covers support. It's basically, it complements what the government is doing, but we try to complement areas that it's not the, let's say, the core business of the government. So there are some certain areas in medical sector, in education sector, heritage, and others. Plus also we have an investment fund for the future. So that fund, the contribution split into, as I said, two folds. One for investment for future to grow it up. So and the other fold or the other part is basically to immediately invest or let's say execute projects. And we have a lot of good examples in this area. So and in addition to that, our board approves from annually. In addition to that, approves whenever we have catastrophic issues like Gono, a big contribution to those funds, which is created for those certain events. We have for Gono, for FIT, for those also those for the unemployment fund, etc. So the companies, Oman LNG and Qalat LNG, they've been very good in this space. And the fund has been created. There is an entity who looks after those CSR, corporate social responsibility. And so this is one area. In terms of how do we see this? I think it's still, this is not, the standards maybe not still yet mature here in Oman, in my opinion, and that will take some time to mature the standards for this green reporting. And but the world is going towards that direction, and I think Oman will not be isolated. It might be just a matter of time. Maybe Haytham, since he's very much connected with other companies, maybe could add more, or Suleiman or Abdulrazak.
Thank you, Kameez. Anyone would like to add to this color, or because Kameez brought another enticing statement of unemployment. This unemployment is ever concern for all countries and systems, and it's a concern for even the country in Oman. Now, it's considered among those top list on the government agenda. Kameez, how we as corporate, we budget for such kind of recruitment, and without impacting the operation and still keeping the margin right on the cost side, and eventually the profit, and to stay sustainable. So sometimes in such turmoil or stagflation, employment might get frozen, or unemployment rate will be quite spiked because people get to lose their jobs. But the good thing that Oman has created this job security, at least for the citizens, with this kind of investment being quite put into the pot by the government, by the employee themselves. Do we see challenges happening that we will not be quite able to really take a proper growth on employing further people down each of those industries? What are the plans for really bringing those job seekers into a more of upskilled and right to go to the industries, fit into wherever they completely can add value, specifically in relation to those people who are graduates, fresher, internship, and even we could take it and look from the internal replacement within each company or within a group of companies under the holding side, and secondment and job creation. So quite a wild ocean discussion around the unemployment and employment perspective. Kameez, you may start, and anyone would like to add. And with that, if there is no further questions from the audience, we wish to conclude, and we will give a kind of a thankful statements toward the end. Kameez and the team.
Okay, I just want to go back to the statistics where we say, I presume, or I believe that the high school graduates ranges from 40,000 somewhere to 50,000 annually. And they go through the pipeline, of course, who goes to the universities and who goes maybe to jobs. But at the majority of those, at the end of the day, they will need a job. So you could imagine every year you got 50,000, and then they are on the pipeline, stuck in the pipeline. Some of them are stuck for a long period of time for a job. This is one angle. Another angle, looking at the current economic situation, looking at what big projects that we have at the moment. What are new big projects? Because to recruit those people, you need to have projects. You need to have entities to absorb them, economical entities to absorb them. And in my view, I don't see, because of course, the current market economic situation, I don't see that a lot of projects fly during this period. So basically, this is to me a long-term issue. We don't have an answer for it. The only answer for it, I would say, simply, you need to enlarge the cake. You need to make the cake bigger size. So then you can absorb all the graduates. You can absorb the high school finishers who are, as I said, 40 to 50,000. And the only way is to bring new projects, new investments to the country. And maybe you need to look at the foreign investment policy, the how fast also the procedure of allowing foreign investors to come and invest in the country. And this is maybe the support of everybody, not only the government, but everybody should participate in that to enlarge the cake, to make the cake big, So then it can absorb annual graduates of 40 or 50,000 a year. That's one thing. But in the short term, what things we can help? And as I said, it will be just a support. For example, in MLNG, we have funded several CSR programs to train opportunity to manage to secure jobs in the private sector. Also, it's worth mentioning that in 2011, when the government announced to create 50 jobs within public and private companies, we in MLNG, we took around 20% additional on our resources requirement. Basically, on top of our people, we took 20% on the workforce, where basically in some areas it doesn't make it efficient to take more people than what you require. And then that creates also other issues. But currently we are planning to basically to have people on job training. So because this is where we see it's better to give that knowledge to the people by bringing them to the plant, or maybe to different disciplines, engineering, operations, technical and non-technical as well, finance, HR, IT, and train those people, put them on job training, give them the knowledge, but then they can go and find jobs in the private sector. And we know that there are some opportunities can be also optimized from the private sector. But to me, the big changer for this game is basically having big investments, inviting more investments to the country, and enlarging the cake to everybody. So I hope I have addressed your question, Fatih.
You are. Thank you, Kameez. Anyone of the team would like to add?
Just would like to add a few points here. Telecom is also similar. It's a very staff intense, actually. We have more than 1,300 people, actually. Despite of that, we are still hiring Omanis on short-term basis. We call them STCs, just to support the economy and support these young boys so they can, learn and train well in this industry, and so at least they are ready whenever there is a opportunity available in other industries. But I think we need to think also the perspective of the employment. Yeah, it's not only the Omanization; is also basically we need to change the psychology actually of the employment. Yeah, not only for Omanis, also for even non-Omanis. Yeah, how you make Oman as a secured place for working. Yeah, because there are also a fear from, let's say, if you want to bring a very specialized skill which is not available in Oman, which that you cannot Omanize it at this point. Yeah, so I think Oman, we should make Oman a place of what you call it, security, a job security. So we have to bring that perception that is a place of job security, because a lot of people are trying to leave this country in the fear of Omanization as well. Yeah, so we have to have this balance because in the work skills, in the working environment, you have to have different skills, different cultures, which is more healthy actually. Yeah, so we need to think it from that perspective as well. But again, to make it success, this story, you have to encourage foreign investment, and you have to have flexibility in terms of policies, regulations. So again, I think government's role will play a big here actually to make this employment for Omanis, and even welcoming these skilled people in Oman, because we have to have this mixed culture. This will make it more healthy, because you have to bring some outside experiences as well, and build and develop these skills and in a widespread in Oman as well. So I think the psychology of the working environment has to change as well, but this cannot happen again alone. Corporate cannot do it alone. It has to come with the support of the government, and then it can become a success. Thank you.
Fatik, if you allow me to add one more thing, I think just to support what Abdul Razak and Kameez said, and even earlier, Abdul Razak said the change of education. We need to, I think the education system also needs to be enhanced, because if we talk about 40, 50,000 graduates every year, majority of them focusing on finance, HR, IT, on a generic subject. I think there should be a balance looking into what are the potential future investments, the 2040 vision, where the focus in tourism, in logistics, in other aspects of the economy, and the education system needs to be available as well to support that growth.
Indeed, rightly added, Mr. Sulaiman. Thanks for you and the team. I believe we wish to conclude after giving some round of thanks to the managing committee, Mr. Ravi, Mr. Sajif, Mr. Jim, and Ms. Shilba, Ms. Sangeeta, Dagan, and Umesh and Gaurav. And the subcommittees who supported this, Deepak, Gipo, and Nali. As well, also, we wish the chief guest and the guest of honor all the best in their future endeavor. And we wish to thank you, Abdul Razak, Mr. Abdul Razak, Mr. Sulaiman, Mr. Haytham, and Mr. Kameez. You have enriched our discussion and interaction. Hopefully, we have been quite adding significant value to the chapter discussion, Ravi and the team. And if there is anything which we can come and help and support down the future, we stand to cast our professional experience to be quite standing positive, supporting the expats and supporting ourselves. We are together to grow. We are together to be quite being better than before, heading to the best. Thank you, and thanks all. We hand over
thank
to
you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Fatik. Thank you very much for your exciting and informative session. Sir, thank you very much for all. And with us, we have our past chairman also, Mr. Ramanand Prabhu. Awad Kisorji is also there. Awad Kisorji, and our past MC member, Mr. Saz, is also there with us on the panel. So thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Gauravji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raviji. And I think it has been a really interesting discussion moderated by Mr. Fatik and very well supported by each of the panelists. I think it's now time to also recognize all the efforts, and we know how much background work also goes into, not only for this session, but more prominently the overall growth, not individually, but for Oman as well. So it's always a collective effort at the end. I would now like to request CA Awad Kisorji, our past president of Muscat chapter, to facilitate Mr. Abdul Razak. Awad Kisorji.
Kisorji, video off.
Hello. Okay, so since I'm not sure if Mr. CA Awad Kisorji is able to link or not, so I'll request CA Tim to facilitate Mr. Abdul Razak.
On behalf of CA Awad Kisorji and all gathered here, kindly accept this memento as a token of appreciation. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this appreciation.
We will deliver this memento to your office, sir. We'll come to your office.
Thank you.
Sir.
Now I request CA Ramanand Prabhuji, our past president, Muscat chapter, to facilitate Mr. Sulaiman.
Prabhuji, your mic is on.
my pleasure to felicitate Mr. Suleiman. Thank you very much for taking out time and such a wonderful discussion. And this is Muscat chapter will remember this CFO meet, and we wish you all the best. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to present this felicitation to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was happy to be part of this event. Thank you.
Now I request, sorry, I think looks like there was some sequence ups and downs, but I think we're still good to go. Now I request CA Ramanand Prabhuji, past President Muscat chapter, to facilitate Mr. Haitham.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. It gives me a great pleasure to present this e-certificate and this memento to Mr. Haitham Al-Sadi on behalf of Muscat chapter, and we look forward to your engagement. And it was a very insightful panel discussion, and I'm sure as the panel goes, and there is a hope is always there, and we will all come out together with this pandemic and take this Oman economy future, and we will all work for the vision of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Said, and look forward to working along with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Haitham.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to the chapter in Oman, and it was really my privilege and my honor to be part of this session. Thank you very much.
And I also want to make for this Omani CFO forum as a part of ICAI, we also want to come out with the Omani CFO program, which is ICAI is launching as a part of the Omani capacity building initiative to support His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq's Vision 2040. We look forward to working along with you all. Thank you very much.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Ramananji. Now I request CA Shahnawaz Khan to facilitate Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi.
Thank you very much, and it's been really an honor to attend such a wonderful session and enriched session. And thank you very much for sharing your thought process. We, the Indian Chartered Accountant in the Muscat chapter, always been the faithful servant of Oman, and we really wish 2040 vision is, as much as we can help, we're always there. Thank you very much. Please accept our token of appreciation for providing us your valuable time and giving us so valuable input as well. Thank you very much. Masalam.
Thank you very much, and it was my pleasure to be part of this gathering. And thank you, Muscat chapter, and thanks everybody. Thanks to the Indian committee, CA, for organizing such event. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot, CA Shahnawaz Khan. Now I request our Muscat chapter Crunch chairman, CA Ravi, to thanks and facilitate Mr. Fatik.
Thank you, Mr. Fatik. I'm grateful to Mr. Fatik because the current this program will not possible without Mr. Fatik's efforts. He was the man behind this program, and he was I was following with him in last maybe around 7-8 days, and we were quite working together on this project, and he was quite energetic for us, and definitely his support, and with this we are there with you. Thank you very much, sir, and please accept this as a token of our appreciation, and we'll send you this physically as well. We'll meet you with we'll take a good photo as well with you with this memento. Please accept this as a token of appreciation.
Thank you, Ravi, and to the managing committee and whoever had made this engagement quite of an earmark, and also made it quite of a thought for all those nice brains to think about further collaboration between the Omani and the Indian communities to bring more professional to the ground. so we can help the people and the young to come as the young professional as we have grown. Thanks to all, and thanks to all those people who have brought us to the right shape and the right cadre by sharpening our saw. With this, I wish to say thank you again.
Thank you, everyone, for helping us to facilitate the panelists as well as the moderator. Now I officially request CA Sajeev to say vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gauravji. ICAI Muscat chapter is really fortunate to have such an event connecting H.E. Munu Mahavar, who is departing on after his term, and the President ICAI, CA Nihar Jambusaria, and 5 of the pillars of Oman economy, the 5 top CFOs or financial experts in Oman. At the outset, I wish to thank CA Fatih Al-Baluchi, CA Ravi Diora, and CA Sangeeta ji for taking the lead role to make it happen. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways from the event for all of us, all attendees today, including insights of various current economic scenarios and the challenges and the view on future economic and business scenarios in the region. On behalf of the Muscat chapter of ICAI, I thank H.E. Manu Mahavar for accepting our invite and honored us with the presence and his words. It's immense pleasure to thank CA Nihar Jambusaria, the President of ICAI, for joining the event and sharing his thoughts to add value to the panel discussion. We are really happy to give a thank you to Mr. Fatih Al-Baluchi, CFO of Oman Cements, for all his efforts to make it happen and well-coordinated, well-moderated event today. I thank Mr. Abdul Razak Al-Baluchi for accepting our invite and sharing his wonderful thoughts, especially the scenarios associated with the telecom industry. Also, I wish to add his discussion on unemployment and his vision on such aspect as well. We thank Mr. Haitham Al-Sadi for accepting our invite and sharing his experience over 6 industries which he had done over a period of his experience in finance and strategies. It's our pleasure to thank Mr. Kameez Al-Hashmi for accepting our invite and sharing his vast experience with us today. On behalf of Muscat chapter, I congratulate Mr. Suleiman Al-Ghanami for being appointed as CEO of Oman Fisheries. Also, we thank him for accepting his vision and his sharing his wonderful experience. Also, thank him for referring to the education system, which was one of very touching point in the discussion. Very valid point to note. Thank you for referring to that with the reference to the Vision 2040 of Oman. Now it's time to thank the efforts of MC and chairmanship of CA Ravi Diora, Jim Joseph, Secretary, CA Shilpa Pavani, CA Digan Pandya, CA Unmesh Bome, CA Gaurav Kapoor, and CA Sangeeta ji, who is the CP coordinator. I take this opportunity to thank our past chairperson and leaders. I thank Mr. CA Ramananda Prabhu for his active involvement and presence. Also, I thank CA Avant Kishore sir for his presence and active roles. CA Shashbai, always inspiration to us, and I use this opportunity to thank CBFS, our sponsors, our local sponsors for their support to us, and last but not least, all the members, participants for the active participation and to make the event grand success. At the outset, I thank everyone, especially this was a wonderful session which we could present to our members and attendees. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
over to Gauravji. Over to Gauravji.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and this morning, and we hope you have a good day. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, sir. I just okay. Yes.
So can we have a big round of applause for the panelists, because this was such an awesome discussion, eye-opening.
Jim, can you stop recording?
Yeah,